as you all know, right now, financial framework coming up. We have the new research program Horizon Europe coming up. And I'm really happy to have now here with us Eleftherios Bourdakis from the European Commission, who will present you about the latest policy developments directly from the European Commission. Eleftherios, floor is yours.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Daniel, and thank you for the introduction. So my speech will be about the Green Deal, how it relates to the construction sector, and what we from the DG Research and Innovation are preparing in relation to the construction sector from a research and innovation perspective. First, some key facts about the built environment of the Union. Buildings are accountable for 40% of the energy use and 36% of the CO2 emissions, while at the same time 70% of the EU buildings are energy inefficient. Nevertheless, the renovation rate across the Union is slightly above 1%. It is estimated that we live 90% of our time indoors, and that 3 out of 4 EU citizens currently are living in cities. The Green Deal is one of the 6 priorities of the new Commission, and I would dare to say it is our flagship. Back in December 2019, when presenting the Green Deal, the President von der Leyen stated that the European Green Deal is our new growth strategy for a growth that gives back more than it takes away. It shows how to transform our way of living and working, of producing and consuming, so that we live healthier and make our businesses innovative. The Green Deal includes, in general, a large number of initiatives, and it is safe to say that there is no sector that is not affected by it. One of the initiatives, and maybe in the Green Deal, and maybe the one that is most closely related to the construction sector, is the renovation wave. The renovation wave is expected to result in increasing the renovation rates across the Union, contribute to decarbonization, and at the same time it is an opportunity for economic growth, job creation, and strengthening Europe's industrial competitiveness. The roadmap was published back in May 2020, while the public consultation was closed a few days ago, and I hope that some of you had contributed. The strategic communication and an action plan are expected to be published in the autumn 2020, and they should include the concrete legislative and non-legislative measures, along with enabling tools and financing and non-financing aspects. Now, from our perspective, from the research and innovation, the new research program is called the Horizon Europe, that will run from 2021 to 2027. And one of the new elements in this program is the missions. A mission is a portfolio of actions across disciplines intended to achieve a bold and inspirational and measurable goal within a set time frame, with impact for the society at large. So it's a topic where it affects most of the society. For example, one of the 5 missions is the cure for cancer. The mission that is most closely related to the construction sector is the mission on climate neutrals and smart cities. The aim of the mission is to support, promote, and showcase that 100 European cities in their systemic transformation towards climate neutrality by 2030, and they should operate as example the leaders for the rest of the society so that we achieve by 2050 to be fully climate neutral. The term of cities is quite broad. It can include a city district, a neighborhood, a zone of interest like an airport, port, university, and so on. So we shouldn't consider it as physically an actual city. Some key figures is that cities occupy only 3% of the land, but they are accountable for 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and 85% of Europeans are estimated to be living in cities by 2050. Some of the objectives of this mission is to build a multi-level and co-creative process formalized in a climate city contract that each of these 100 cities should sign, that would describe their actions, what they intend to do. It should help the cities access the financial means to achieve the mission aim and create synergies with and between existing European climate initiatives and stakeholders. Recently, the Mission Board published the interim report, which is accessible in the link that you see at the bottom of the page, while the final report will be presented during the European R&I Days that will take place at the end of next September. This time, due to the coronavirus, the whole conference will be virtual. And this report will be, let's say, communicated to the three institutions as a guideline that should be taken into consideration for our work program in research and innovation. The Build for People public-private partnership, we could say it's the successor of the Horizon 2020 partnership on energy efficient buildings. In the current partnership that is finishing with the end of this year, partners were mainly from the construction sector industry, and the scope was mostly on the energy performance of buildings. The approach was technology driven, focus on design, advanced materials and nanotechnology, BIM data and the interoperability and ICT and so on. In the new partnership, we take a more broad scope. The partners represent various actors across the building value chain, and the scope is a fully decarbonized, sustainable, and better living built environment. The approach is to have people user-centric holistic innovation aiming at lasting behavioral change to deliver under the long-term goals set by the Green Deal. A difference in this partnership we could see is that several DGs from the Commission are contributing, so it has a more holistic approach compared to the previous one. And the focus is primarily on the renovation of existing buildings. Okay. The new way to build is outside of the umbrella of the mission and the partnership, and it is our proposal for a drastic change in the construction site. The construction sector is accountable for 9% of the EU GDP. It provides 18 million direct jobs. By 95%, it consists of SMEs, but at the same time, several member states are facing a labor shortage. It is a sector that is very intense in terms of labor accidents, and it has been observed that nowadays it is not, let's say, so attractive to the younger generations. From a recent study about digitalization in the construction sector, it was found that 93% of the construction industry firms believe that digitalization will affect every of their processes. Only 6% of construction companies make full use of digital planning tools like building information modeling. And all of the participant firms in the study believe that they have not yet exhausted their digital potential. Those of you who have been in Brussels may recognize our headquarters, the Berlaymont, in the left picture, while under construction in the 1967. The right picture is the construction site adjacent to our office building, and we can see that despite of almost the 60 years of difference between the two pictures, there are quite a lot of similarities in the way we build. A lot of the work is done on site, independent of the weather conditions, and a lot of the technologies are more or less the same, like these large metal cranes that we see in both pictures. The circle in the middle is what is the construction site now, the established technologies. These are well established now and used, while all three are driven from related regulation, standardization, and safety. The new way to build is the four outer circles that you see. The first one is digitalization. As I already told you, the sector is really lagging behind in that aspect, and we can consider that it has great potential for improvement in that field. We want to see a higher level of modularization, while the last two, circularity and materials, are well connected. Next. Okay. The scope of this proposal is higher European competitiveness and the climate neutrality of the construction sector through deeper digitalization and automation. The approach is by supporting the introduction of disruptive technologies in the construction site and demonstrate their impact on the sector and their proof of concept that they can actually be used from the construction sector. The focus, in contrast to the Build for People partnership, is primarily on new construction, without this being, of course, neglecting that these technologies can be used in an existing building. And we strongly believe that this proposal will have benefits on higher productivity, automation, higher degree of digitalization, will have an impact on decarbonization, minimization of labor accidents, and make the sector attractive to younger generations. The digitalization is a great opportunity for the construction sector. It can include technologies like artificial intelligence, building twins, a higher penetration of the building information modeling that we mostly see in large projects now, drones for inspection and maintenance, higher use of sensors, 3D scanning, Internet of Things, and so on. In a recent study I read, it is estimated that there will be 100 sensors per person in a fully smart society. Modularization, we mean constructions fully being 3D printed. The use of robots and robotic arms in the construction site, for example, for operating repetitive works like laying tiles or bricks or lifting heavy objects. And this would have a very big impact on the reduction of accidents in the construction site. And of course, the use of prefabricated elements that are plug and play and can be very quickly be assembled on the construction site, minimizing the duration of the actual construction phase. As I already said, circularity and materials are closely related. So from the one side, we have a higher degree of recyclability and reusability combined with new materials with better properties than the one we already see, and then a better construction site management, so that we achieve a completely circular built environment. Thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to answer your questions.
Yes, thank you, Eleftherios, for this wonderful talk. And I'm now giving over to Caroline and ask her if she has any questions from the chat.
Hello from my side as well, and thank you for the very informative talk. I have one question that I will forward to you from the chat. This is again on the systemic transformation toward climate neutrality. So could you please quickly give the definition what this means exactly, and quickly sum up the steps necessary to reach this transformation?
Sorry, just a second. Eleftherios, are you muted on your computer? Could that be?
No. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay. So a fully circular, I guess the question is about the construction sector specifically. So we mean that all materials can be reused, that we take also, in relation the embedded the carbon of the materials. So it's a more holistic approach, not just the energy efficiency of the building during the operation phase, but the whole phase from planning until the commission and the construction.
Okay, so I hope this answers the question. If not, then you please feel free to ask other questions. Karen, do we have other questions in the chat?
I would mainly move this to the end of the Q&A, to the Q&A session at the end of this part of the.
Okay, wonderful. Maybe one question from my side, Eleftherios. What would you recommend the audience if they want to participate at the European level in these developments that you've just shown? How would you recommend them? Should they start this interaction?
I would say the first step, of course, is to participate in relevant public consultation. Unfortunately, for now, these have already been closed. And the second step is, of course, we have from time to time events where we, let's say, advertise our topics that are publicly launched for proposals. Usually these events are organized in relation with also some, let's say, networking activities. So companies that they don't have already a network to participate in a Horizon project, then they can start gradually building a network so that they can be part of a project. Of course, this, as with most of our activities, is affected by coronavirus, and these events again are done virtually, which unfortunately, of course, limits the possibilities of networking. But we acknowledge this limitation of virtual events, and we are trying to address it. So, for example, in the next RNI days, that I would strongly recommend the participants to virtually attend. We are working on having somehow activities and possibilities of virtual networking, so that we don't lose from that perspective something that was a great benefit from last year, where we had more than 2,000
Yes.
people attending the conference in Brussels.
Okay. Yes. Well, thank you very much. Really challenging time for everyone, especially for people who like to network.